Please be advised that everything in my video is purely for entertainment purposes. These are purely my thoughts and opinions and are subjective. I must advise you to please do your own research. All media users found on the public domain and are fair use and fair dealings.
Hi guys, so I said I'd be back and voila, I am back a little bit healthier than I was. Each day is progress. There's still something, so I'm a bit nasally hanging on to me. It's not quite ready to let go of me yet. There are so many nasty bugs going around, so for anyone else that has been on the lemon sip or the hot toddies, as everyone kept telling me to drink, I'm sending my love and my well wishes to all of you. It is the season, as they say, for everyone to just get sick. But the way I view it, I got sick this side of Christmas because what I did for about 4 consecutive years was I got sick on Christmas Eve and then I didn't eat Christmas dinner literally for about 3-4 years. Speaking of Christmas, as you can see, not very festive behind me. I feel like I need to pull my thumb out and at least put something out there for you guys. We're not going to be here really over the Christmas period, just you know what it's like. You're everywhere, aren't you? So I'm kind of trying to get away with not putting up a Christmas tree because I'm really lazy. I'm like the Grinch, and we've got Chia that likes to chew stuff, and I'm really paranoid about her eating some Christmas baubles. She is stupid enough to do that. So speaking of stupid, name of the video, just quit. Now, these are actually words that Harry has said to people, but at the same time, you could apply it to him. Just quit, just stop. Someone stop his beak. Harry was once a much loved and one of the top favourite royals. In the short time that he has been married to Meghan, he has, however, become a laughing stock, not just nationally, but now worldwide. From being duped by Russian pranksters, who he thought was Greta Thunberg, and relocating penguins that were stuck in customs to the North Pole, and also the fact that Donald Trump was exploiting the fictional island of Chunga Chunga. You can forgive Harry for being pranked. It's happened to lots of people, but the problem is, Harry doesn't stop saying stupid things when he's not being pranked. From talking about women's menstrual health, yes, I'm not joking, quoting Martin Luther King, because Harry reads a lot of Martin Luther King, complaining that there are no black dolls in shops, telling the human race we all need to be raindrops, trying to convince us that we are all suffering. It's in our DNA, as is racism. It's our unconscious bias that we are born with. And not forgetting the more recent one which upset my fellow American buddies, the First Amendment being bonkers. It is a continuous stream of verbal diarrhea that falls out of Harry's mouth on a regular basis. And it always tends to make it into the media, or he appears in the media, when Prince William is doing amazing. He's as see-through as his wife these days, because as soon as Catherine appears, Meghan's got to appear. Did you see the recent? Actually, this is pretty cringy. Catherine started using a gold monogram for her. I believe that this was for the writing of the Christmas Carol concert that they're doing, that the BBC have been kicked off. But naturally, Meghan, her victory statement, having always used blue before, yes, the Sussex Royal was always navy blue, literally days after Catherine has a gold embossed monogram. So does a certain someone. We see you, we know what you're doing. But of course, Prince William, on the day that he's talking about mental health, on the day he has a podcast coming out with Apple, which I'll be talking more about in the next video because I feel like we all need a bit of a palate cleanser after these last couple of videos. So yeah, of course, William is basically getting headline news. He's doing absolutely fantastic, looking pretty hot if I say so myself. And up pops Harry, that unwanted jack in the box. This latest blunder, however, would be classed as comical if it wasn't so unbelievably out of touch of what people have been actually going through in the last couple of years. Harry, in an interview about Better Up, has advised people that if they are stuck in a job that doesn't bring them joy, then they should simply quit. The Great Resignation, he calls it. We are all at the beginning of a mental health awakening. Oh dear lordy. Can everybody please put a notification for a missing person out across all villages worldwide, because someone is clearly missing their idiot. Many people have lost jobs in the last 2 years because of everything that's happened. Obviously, the bug that has hit, and many more people are beginning to lose their jobs in the fallout of this, and it's going to continue to fall into next year as well. It's absolutely awful what the last 2 years have actually brought to a number of people. Many of us live month to month where even losing a single paycheck can cause irreparable damage to our lifestyle. Like, we may not be able to recover from it. People might lose their homes. It's absolutely tragic what is happening out there in the world, and Harry would know this if he read a newspaper. Many people out there work horrific hours. They don't take their kids to school. They don't put their kids to bed. People work multiple jobs. You've got people on 0 hours contract, not knowing when they're going to basically have any sort of job security. You've got people that literally go sick and lose their job. More and more people out there are just struggling to put food on the table each week and to keep a roof over their families' heads. It's not just the UK, America, lots and lots of countries are really suffering with the fallout of what this worldwide bug has done to everyone. So many people are just grateful the fact that they have managed to hang on to their job for the last couple of years, that they've not been made redundant, that the company's not gone under. The last thing on many people's minds is, does their job bring them joy? No, but it does actually pay their bills. He's completely out of touch. Everyone is calling this Harry's moment of let them eat cake. He wasn't just born a multi-millionaire, he was born a royal as well, which means basically freebies for life are on his birth certificate. He moaned on Oprah at 37 years old. Daddy, who had already paid him millions that particular financial year as well, had finally cut him off. He's never had to work a day in his life. He will never have to. He is a trust fund child. He was left millions by Diana, millions by the Queen Mother. Very few people in the world are lucky enough to have a job that they actually feel joy in. Many of us hate our jobs, but we stick with it because the salary that it brings in. Changing careers often involves retraining of costs that many of us can't afford. He's got no qualifications in any of the subjects that he's talking about, yet he's given these absolute huge hundreds of £1,000 salary jobs just because of who he is, just because of who his grandmother is. And if he decided one day that he was just going to get up and quit BetterUp, he can walk into another made-up Silicon Valley woke PR stunt job without so much as an interview because of who he is, his privilege. BetterUp, the company itself, their company blurb even says that they are there to help improve individual resilience, adaptability, and effectiveness in people's jobs. And Harry's just saying, just quit if you don't like it, whatever. Oh, if we could all have that luxury to just go, know what, I'll quit. We all fantasize about it though. By all means, advising people to look for another job, change careers if it's attainable. But by telling people to simply quit, it just shows the level of immaturity. And it's completely irresponsible to be telling people that. I mean, nothing surprises me what falls out of his mouth anymore. I mean, recently, I'm still reeling for the fact when he turned around and said that he sent an email to Jack Dorsey, the ex-CEO of Twitter, to tell him that he knew what was going to happen after the presidential elections at the Capitol. Yes, Harry knew. And if Jack had just answered his email, Harry would have single-handedly stopped what unfolded. So what other wonderful foresight has Harry now had? Well, he has piped up over the cash for honour scandal, which is currently surrounding his father, Prince Charles. Regarding a Saudi billionaire, Harry has decided to make a statement as a photo resurfaced of him with said businessman, Mr. Mahfouz, was published in a paper. They were pointing out the fact that Harry had actually met Mr. Mahfouz first. In Harry's statement, he said that he raised concerns about Mr. Mahfouz and severed ties a year before he was still given a CBE by Prince Charles. Harry raised the warning over the businessman's motives, but just like Jack Dorsey, his father didn't listen. That's basically what he's implying. Oh, the wisdom and the foresight of the newest member of the Magic Circle. Let's just wrap a turban round his head. I shouldn't really say that with one of my hairbands. Let me send him one of my hairbands and we'll give him some big hooped earrings and he can sit there with a crystal ball, because Harry now has amazing foresight. Perhaps it means next time when we hear from Harry, he'll be giving us all the winning lottery numbers. So yet again, we've heard that Harry has expressed his concerns about something, or someone in this instance, but fails to divulge exactly who it was he told of his concerns. Charles' staff have apparently come forward and said to the media that they were unaware of any such conversations. I guess recollections vary again. The other question that has been raised about this is, why is it if Harry had concerns and cut off Mr. Mahfouz, when he bumped into him basically having a meeting with his father, instead of warning him, he actually joked, and it's actually been released to the media, that Harry joked around that his dad beat him to the money first. Hardly the words of a man concerned, is it? Now, the other thing that's obviously come up is Harry actually accepted donations on behalf of Centre Barley, who have also spoken out and said that they were also unaware of any, I guess, ulterior motives that Mr. Mahfouz had. Otherwise, they never would have accepted the donations. Harry accepted the donations on behalf of them. Again, are these the actions of a concerned prince? And while we're at it, of the concerned prince, he's concerned that his father had dodgy dealings with a Saudi businessman and his motives, but has no concerns and remains tight-lipped over his wife's earrings that she was gifted from a certain Saudi prince. The fact that these earrings were a wedding gift that she accepted, the royal family do accept gifts. It's rude not to, but they choose not to wear them. Now, Meghan was advised not to wear those earrings. And do you know what Meghan did? She wore them anyway and then lied and said that staff didn't tell her. Yes, it's all down to those mean, nasty staff again. But the thing is, the staff shouldn't have had to tell her for the simple fact it was all over the worldwide news. And she's even had that pinky ring made out of diamonds, reportedly from the same country. I think anyone with a brain cell is well aware of how they treat women out there in certain areas of the Middle East. But Meghan, you rock those earrings, girl, because you're a true humanitarian. Harry's strangely also been silent on the fact that the BBC documentary Princes in the Press. I wonder why. Is it because it's just like Finding Freedom, where it reported on him as being in a favourable light? So of course he's not going to pipe up and say anything. Much like Harry also remains silent about The Crown. The Netflix Crown that is basically dredging up his mother's memory. No, of course he's not. He's also silent then. He's also remained silent about the fact that the BBC allowed The Crown to film the Martin Bashir interview in their studios where it took place. Yes, no wonder Prince William is not very impressed with the BBC at the moment. But again, Harry's silence. I know it's an Oprah thing, isn't it? I quite like it though. Other subjects that Harry has remarkably remained silent on is where did he buy, or who did he buy, his house from in Montecito at a rather cut price. I believe it might have been some Russians. What about how Harry has managed to obtain a special person's visa to stay in the US? He is indeed very special, but possibly not in the way that Harry thinks about himself. He's used his connections. But here he is again, making a thinly veiled swipe at his father that he knew that Mr. Mahfouz had motives. But Charles did not heed the warnings of his holier-than-thou son. It's funny, isn't it, how Harry can remain silent over certain subjects. Another thing that Harry has remarkably stayed silent on. Christopher Anderson's book, Brothers and Wives, that actually changes the narrative yet again that Charles, calls him out as Charles was the member of the royal family that was racist. Now, what heinous thing could Charles have done in Christopher Anderson's eyes? Well, reportedly, he was having a private breakfast with Camilla and he turned and said to her on the day of the engagement, I wonder what the children will look like. Camilla apparently responded with saying, well, they'll be absolutely gorgeous. And Charles, under a darker tone, then looked and said sheepishly, but what about the baby's skin tone? That's not the exact words that Christopher Anderson's used, but that's the kind of plot line that he has gone with. 1, how would he know that? Was he at the breakfast table with them? 2, the shock, the horror, a grandfather actually wondering what his future grandchildren may be like. Since when has it become a racist thing to actually wonder what a baby may look like? So far we've had Harry's version of the story that he had a casual conversation with someone before the wedding, which means before the wedding, before she was pregnant, before Archie was a twinkle in Daddy's eye. Meghan's version of events, there were multiple conversations about how brown Archie's skin would be when she was pregnant. And now we have Christopher Anderson, who sounds like Hans Christian Andersen, because it's also probably made up bullshit. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm sick of the word racism being thrown around. Obviously, racism is a terrible, terrible thing. It should not be still so prominent in 2021 coming up to 2022. But by a grandfather inquiring or asking, or anyone actually going, I wonder what your baby would look like. Now that is a taboo subject. How many people around the world are going to be too frightened to now say, oh, do you think the baby will look like you? Just in case like mummy or daddy or the grandparents might be biracial or some sort of heritage. It's absolute insanity. Now bear in mind also, whichever version of events is true, Harry is a pasty, ginger-haired man. Meghan is a biracial woman who naturally has raven black, beautiful curly hair when she was younger anyway. So to mix a white pasty ginger man with a biracial woman, I think it's pretty normal for people to go, oh, I wonder what features the baby will have. In fact, if your husband is blonde and your wife is ginger, I think it's a normal conversation. So the fact that this is still being manipulated, turning it into something dirty and dark, it's absolutely ridiculous, and it's people just shoving an agenda. And what's worse is Harry has been asked for comment and not a word. Crickets. All it would take from him is one simple statement to just turn around and say that that conversation did not happen, that that's not true. Maybe he is actually just going, well, I better not give it any attention, the book, because, you know, that's what the royal family do. Never complain, never explain. But that's not really Harry's motto, is it? Much like when they said on Oprah, a member of the royal family, which they're not going to disclose because it would be too damaging to their reputation, it put a blanket across all of them. I mean, they did actually say, oh, it wasn't Prince Philip and it wasn't the Queen, but that left every other member of the royal family. It was a very sneaky, manipulative thing to do. Now, speaking of Prince Philip has come out with some clangers over the years, and I put Prince Philip down to a generational thing as well. You can't have a go at people for something that was socially acceptable. I'm not saying it was okay, but socially acceptable was the norm in the 1930s, 40s, 50s, and apply it to today's values and conversations. If my grandmother was still alive, in fact, I remember being a teenager and my grandmother would say something and I'd be like, she fought in World War II in the army. You know, there's certain things that she would say. I mean, you'd just be absolutely mortified if you're like, Grandma, don't say that. But what's Harry's excuse for all of the genuine racist things that he's done? Harry was born in 1984. Harry is a year younger than moi. So what's his excuse for all of these news articles? What is his excuse? Being born in that age group, my age group, and being the most racist member of the royal family. Again, silence. So we can always guess when Harry is going to be suddenly available for comment rather than being unavailable, or he's going to come out with some mighty clanger to announce to the world through his PR company, and that is when Prince William is next due to appear on TV. You can pretty much synchronise watches to it. In fact, we might as well just earmark every prominent day in Catherine and William's diary, because we know that the cheap stunts are going to continue happening. Harry has turned out to be quite the vindictive snake in the grass. In fact, actually, I take that back. That's quite offensive to snakes. So in the beginning of the video, I did mention about Prince William, and obviously William has been in the news a lot recently. I'm going to be listening to his podcast. I will give you my views on that, and I will be back with you in the next couple of days. So take care for now, guys. Bye.
If you like my video, please remember to like and subscribe. Please, angry typists, you will be blocked, so save your fingers the time. If you would like to buy me a coffee, please go to my About page and click the link. Love, Taz.